I am a horse doctor. I mean a real horse doctor. I've loved horses my whole life. And to be honest, I talk to horses better than I talk to people. So if you don't understand me, that's okay, because my wife and kids have some trouble following me as well. The journey to become a horse doctor started 35 years ago. It's been an incredibly challenging one. Some of the hardest times of my life, but also some of the very best times of my life as well. As I look back, I think it's a miracle that I ended up where I am today, because I didn't have a clue of what I was doing. But throughout this roller coaster ride, I have learned a thing or two of what it takes to be successful. And today I want to share with you 3 principles that made the biggest difference to me. And I believe they're going to be huge for you as well. So saddle up, because we have a lot to cover today. Actually, time out. You see what I did there? I had some corny horse jokes. Consider yourself warned. This is a picture of me and my horse, Tauri. In this picture, I was 6 years old, and I had 6 years of riding experience. I remember when I was 8 years old, I come home from school, and one day my grandma, with tears in her eyes, "Oh, Alberto, I have some terrible news." I said, "What happened?" She said, "There's been an accident. Your dad was riding your horse, and they got hit by a truck." I said, "What happened to my horse?" She said, she looked back and she said, "He has a broken leg, and we're waiting for someone to help." The next day, I learned that my horse suffered for hours. I loved that horse. It was everything to me. And I couldn't bear the thought that he suffered for so long because there was not one veterinarian in town. That day I made a decision. I have to become a veterinarian. Something I remained passionate about for years. When I was 16 years old, I faced my first real challenge to become a veterinarian. I learned that to go to veterinary school, I needed to come to the United States, which sounds simple enough, except I didn't know anybody in the United States. I didn't have any money, and I didn't even speak English. Can you tell? But I had one thing. I had passion. Blind passion. Stupid, blind, uncompromising passion. And this day I learned something about the concept of sacrifice that tells you you have to give up to go up. And the higher you want to go, the more you have to let go. Now, on the one hand, what did I have to give up? It was for me a much easier decision back then than it would have been for me now. On the other hand, I had to give up everything, my language, my culture, my family, my land, everything would have to give way for me to accomplish my dream and become a veterinarian. Now, passion is like blinkers on a horse. It makes you blind to the challenges ahead, and you just keep plowing. Now, passion gives a person meaning. With enough passion, there's no amount of risk that you wouldn't take, or energy you wouldn't put in, or creativity you wouldn't draw. Now, without passion, anything is too much trouble. Zig Ziglar said, "A goal that is casually set is freely abandoned at first obstacle." Well, my goal was not casually set, and it was not going to freely abandon at first obstacle, any obstacle. Nothing was going to stop me. I eventually made it to college in the United States, and it turns out that graduating from college was going to be a lot more difficult than I imagined. The reality was, I was always hungry, I was always short of money, and even though I was starting to pick up the language, those clinical textbooks were very difficult. But passion can be creative. And I realized that the only way I was going to learn the textbooks was if I translate them and transcribe them. That's what I did. And guess what? All my social activity, my sports life, anything would have to give way for me to translate and transcribe. I was learning the material so well because I was going over it 3 or 4 times the amount of times that my peers were going. I was even tutoring some of my English-speaking friends. Yes, it was mentally and physically demanding, but it was taking me towards where I really wanted to go. It is true that you have to give up to go up. But if you're giving up something less important for something more important, is that a true sacrifice? I mean, if you get upgraded from economy to first class, did you sacrifice your economy seat? It can look like a loss until you make that shift in perception. And this is when I was first introduced to the first concept of success, which is what I call the law of passion. Nothing is too much trouble if you have enough passion. When I coach in this law of passion, I ask 3 questions. 1, what do you want? 2, how much do you want it? 3, what are you willing to give up in order to have it? What do you want? How much do you want it? What are you willing to give up in order to have it? If the answer comes easy, I know there's a lot of passion, and they'll be all right. If they struggle, I know there's not enough passion, and they'll struggle. Of course, there's a price to be paid, but the passion fuels the purchase, and it doesn't feel like work to be in the pursuit of something that you truly love. I eventually graduated from college, got an internship, got a job paying more money than I ever imagined. My brother William came to the United States with me. My dream of becoming a vet had materialized. Our life was good. We were living the dream. Our sacrifices paid off. And for a wonderful 89 days, that's how things continue. Now, my brother started showing some strange symptoms. He was quickly admitted to the hospital. No one could figure out what was wrong with him. And I never forget that day in the elevator. The doctor came to me and told me, we know now that William has leukemia. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And how could she just throw it out like that in the elevator? To leave me to tell my brother that he had cancer, everything after that was a blur. The next 100 days were very difficult. I couldn't concentrate pretty much on anything. All I recall is sitting with my mom day after day in that hospital, thinking that my little brother could die at the age of 22. It made me realize that life is fragile. Life is precious. Life is short. I mean, we were partners. I thought we were invincible. We had so many plans. Now, several weeks later, another doctor came in the room and said, hey, I think that William could qualify for an experimental treatment. And just like that, our life pivoted again. My brother got the treatment, recovered, came home, and we were back on the saddle. Now, after everything we have gone through, I look at life a bit different. It took me 10 years to become a horse veterinarian. I had $300,000 in student debt, like a lot of veterinarians. I was making $70,000 a year. And things were getting worse, not any better. So that night, William and I made a decision. We're going to start our own business. Starting a business was exciting. You know, Ocala, there are more horses here than there are people. So I was finally going to get paid what I was worth. And I was finally going to pay those student loans. Yes. So the next day, I managed to get a loan for a used truck, medicine, and equipment, and we went knocking on doors. A few months later, I discovered that being a veterinarian is not the same thing as owning your veterinary business. I learned that when you go from a veterinarian to opening your business, just like any other entrepreneur, you go from being an expert in your field to a beginner in business. You go from working on your specialty to working on sales, dealing with clients, managing complaints, looking for payments, and all the things that I had no clue I had to do. On top of that, managing my staff was a nightmare. I was extremely overwhelmed with my assistant, William, with my marketing director, Alberto, my operations director, Alberto, my finance director, Alberto, my horse walker, Alberto, The management of all these people was driving me crazy. It turns out that my limitless enthusiasm had limits, and I had passed them. My enthusiasm quickly went to despair, then to escape. Then I started drinking, and I started drinking more and more. Then the doctor prescribed me pills for depression. Then I started mixing pills with alcohol. I was in trouble. My life was in trouble. Anybody around me could see it. I started doing some research, and I started looking for someone to blame. I found out the school didn't prepare me for this. The profession is in trouble. Turns out that the CDC reports that veterinarians are at 3 times the risk of committing suicide. They attribute it to high debt, low income, stress, overwhelm, you name it. The reality was that I was about to become a statistic. I remember one day, one afternoon, I stumbled out of the bar into my truck, and I got pulled over for racing. My friends, jail time is sobering in so many ways. I remember looking at the ceiling for hours, looking for someone to blame. Whose fault is this? How did it go wrong? What happened? First I was angry, then anger turned to fear, then fear turned to despair. Then I just wanted to roll over and give up. As time slowly passed in that jail cell, I realized that if anything was going to change, I had to change it. And I came face to face with what I call the second success principle, which is the law of responsibility. It taught me that I had one choice. We all have 2 choices. We either accept life as it is, or we accept the responsibility for changing it. Jim Rohn said, "Don't wish it was easier. Wish you were better." I love that. Turns out I was done wishing life should be better. It wasn't a good strategy after all. There's a study that reports that people who take responsibility for their personal and professional life actually live longer, happier, and a better life. But I couldn't do this all by myself. I needed to find someone that helped me turn my life around and my passion for helping horses into a successful business that helps horses. I invested all that I could on finding some great mentors. And I took responsibility for my personal, professional, and financial life. And then after I did that, now we're just not helping one horse like Tauri. Our vision is to help 1 million of them. When I bumped into this law of responsibility, I came to the conclusion that no one was going to save me. If anyone was going to save you, that person is you. Now let's put all this together. Life is like the bamboo tree. When you plant the Chinese bamboo tree, it takes 5 years to develop a network of roots. Now this network is an intricate and complex process, which when it sprouts, it shoots up 80 feet above the ground in just 6 weeks. This is the result of a process that takes discipline, dedication, and daily growth. What if it took you 5 years to develop the foundation of the success that you desire? Will you do it? This is when I introduce you to the 3rd success principle, which is what John Maxwell calls the law of process. Success doesn't happen in a day. It happens day by day, every day. An acorn doesn't become an oak tree because it has the passion to become one. That passion has to be channeled into the process of growth, into developing the skills, the knowledge and experience, and then into taking action and learning from that action on to make something great. Now, these concepts are so easy to understand, but in truth, they're so difficult to do and apply because it takes sustained daily effort. Now my encouragement to you, start with your passion. Follow your bliss. Do what you love to do so much that you would do it for free, and then do it so well that you get paid very well. You cannot do everything. The things that matter the most could not be at the mercy of the things that matter the least. You have to let go of the things that matter the least so that you can do the things that matter the most. Take responsibility for your life and for your actions. If you're good, become great. Like my mentor says, success is your duty. And success doesn't happen overnight or by mistake, because growth doesn't happen overnight. It happens day by day. And I'll leave you with this. You have the right and the power to be the leader of your life. You have the right and the power to be successful. You have the right and the power to accomplish your dreams. You have the right. It's right now. Thank you.